Howdy, folks. It is Monday, January 2nd, 2012.
Is it really?
And yeah, it is.
Happy New Year.
And this is episode 22B, I believe, of the Bad Dog Book Club.
You're the one that keeps count.
I'm trying. If it isn't, I take it all back. And this week's story, the more important thing is this week's story is Movie Night by Sorin. And
good.
It's read to us by Cinnamon DeWolf, who will be back with a story for next week's episode. So we're doing a little, and Soren's read for us before, so we're doing a little bit of, read for us, get your story read, vice versa.
At what point does it just become nepotism? You lend me a hand.
Nice. No, I mean, I'm serious. So it's nice. Well, one of the things, I've done several times to this point is when people have a story on the podcast, I then turn to them and say, what one of your favorite stories written by someone else would you like us to read next? And I've done that on several occasions, and that's been kind of fun. So, I'm going to be asking Soren, I'm going to be asking Cinnamon, okay, what's one of your favorite stories?
We won't be allowed to read his favorite stories on the podcast. He'll have to choose one of his lesser favorite stories.
Oh, all right. That's what we're hearing. So we'll find out. I'll have to actually ask Cinnamon about that. But yeah, we it's been kind of fun, and I think it's a way to kind of for authors to give a shout out to other authors. So I've been doing that too.
That is the idea,
and maybe
right?
That's a little nepotism, but sometimes they don't know each other.
But I do want to kind of clear something up. Is the idea for the stories on this show isn't the best stories.
Yeah.
If that really was the idea you were coming into this with, I mean, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is furry literature. And let's be real here. No, for real.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that.
Let's be for real. I mean, come on. We can't improve it unless we recognize what the problems are. Now, you're with me on this.
What I was taking a quibble with was that it's furry literature and therefore it is automatically degraded in quality, and that's what I was taking issue.
I'm not saying
it's
nature, in its execution as of now. I mean, it's not as bad as it was 20 years ago when furry art was fucking awful. And there were probably about 1,500 furries in the entire world. We're expanding the user base. We're getting more art out there. That's good. But, the writing is lagging severely behind the art, I think. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood lately. I'm tending to be a bit more vicious.
I was gonna say we're coming off vacation time, but of course you spent up until today. You've spent the vacation with your folks and your siblings and at Christmas and stuff, and that sounds a little stressful at your house. So I understand if you're.
It was a good time with most of my family.
Yeah.
I got to see my nephew. He's cute. He's adorable.
Oh,
I'm a new uncle recently. Kind of recently.
Well, congratulations! You're the gay uncle.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Everybody gets a gay uncle. You are the gay uncle.
I'm the out gay uncle. Let's say that.
Oh,
there's got to be another.
Sounds like there's a little scandal.
There's got to be another. I mean, come on, it's a big family.
At the Toonces house, the Toonces clan, the Driving Cat clan.
The Driving Cat clan.
Toonces Driving Cat's your last name, right?
The commuter cats.
I think Driving Cat's your last name. I thought.
Well, actually, the last name is Cat, and then the first signifies your dominant form of transportation. I was the Driving Cat. Now I'm the Metro Cat. Toonces the Metro Cat.
Yeah. Oh, every time I try to, everybody assumes you're metrosexual. And I say that, though. So.
That's so funny. They don't presume I'm gay. They just presume I'm a really flamboyant straight dude. Why? What do I have to do? Do I have to suck it in public?
I can think of several things, but I won't say them here because I was going to say it's a family show, but it's not at all.
It's not a family show.
It's not at all a family show.
Don't spread those lies.
Yeah. See, I just quick order of holiday business is. Anybody you want to say anything to? Any cool thing you got, or I know your squirrel is coming home tonight.
Well, you got me a rad computer.
I did.
Yeah, Skip built me a really nice gaming computer for
You were up until 4 a.m.
Yeah, I was playing
TF2 last night. On the furry pound. 3
years or something. I haven't played that stupid game, and I just chatting all the time. I don't know how to play this game while I'm killing everybody. I don't know how to play this game. I forget how to do this, and I'm killing. I don't know. That's my new favorite form of trolling.
I was watching him a little bit, and he's good. So do watch out for Toonces the Driving Cat on the furry pound.
The noob troll is my favorite troll from now on.
Okay.
Can someone please tell me how to play this game while I'm just playing the game?
Cool. So yeah, there's something. Let's talk about the story. There's something I want to come back to that you kind of got me thinking, which is about how furry art and stuff has changed over the last 20 years. So we'll hold on to that thought.
Right.
Let's hit the story. So I guess the first thing that kind of amused me, it's a fox party. It's like all foxes.
Isn't it? Oh,
yeah.
of course.
But they're all different kinds of foxes.
They have to be. You gotta have variety in your fox eye.
Yeah, right there, that's one of the problems with foxes. There are too many different kinds. You don't get like a whole bunch of different kinds of raccoons, at least as far as I know.
Well, did you know the great unknown thing about foxes is that they all smell like a different flavor of saltwater taffy? Did you know that?
No, I did not.
It's true. My favorite is watermelon.
Which one are the watermelon ones?
Which one smells like watermelon? My ex-boyfriend smelled like watermelon.
Wow.
That's for sure. And which one?
What was he?
He was a fox.
I know, but what kind?
Red fox, I forget.
Oh, red fox,
Yeah.
okay. Vulpus.
Vulpus. Yeah, that one smelled like watermelon. I met some other foxes. The ones that smell like banana are like really good too.
Banana?
I really like the foxes that smell
Wow.
like banana. I don't know why
Like
fox
kit
is the only
foxes,
one.
or
Kit foxes?
maybe.
I don't know. It
Maybe
doesn't
they're
seem
banana. They're kinda
to
yellow.
correlate to what kind of fox they are. They just seem to have their distinctive saltwater taffy smells. I don't know why.
I thought they all smelled like semen.
Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sorry.
It's just getting kind of like confused. with the two.
I was being racist towards
But that's my
foxes.
favorite. That's nice. That's my fox.
I know it's cool.
Stereotype.
I have a lot of fox friends. That's that's what
Oh
I
my
love when
God.
people like blurt out something randomly racist.
at what
It's like, no,
point-
it's cool. I have a lot of friends who are foxes, and it's like,
Yeah, like Ron Paul.
right, exactly.
At what point
Ron
do
Paul has a
foxes
lot of
become
friends that are
not the most
foxes.
popular animal anymore?
Foxes are great though. How could you not love it? I
Or
mean,
then,
that's
like,
the thing.
huskies
Like, they're
gonna
very
replace them?
popular. No, I don't think so because I don't know. Foxes are, and if you look at again, if we go back to kind of our cultural tropes about foxes, they're sexy and clever and beautiful. And
That's
we
just the cultural
associate all these positive sexual words with foxes, and we're sexual people, and furries are a sexual
Yeah, you
community.
describe
So
people as foxy.
vixen, foxy, yeah, exactly. And all in our stories, they're tricksters and they're clever.
Right.
So I think those are things that are very appealing to people. So I think foxes are going to stay.
Do you think these attributes
there.
come out in this story though? I think in some cases it's just a little bit
I think
undeveloped,
so, a little
like left
bit.
in the oven a little bit too soon.
Yeah, I it's a good story, and the sex is well done.
Yeah,
some
I mean,
bent
it's
over the
well done.
counter there.
It's hot,
That's
yeah.
always nice. But yeah, I see what you mean in that. For me, I think I agree that the overall sense is the stuff is there, and it's just a little. It's not quite baked all the way through or something.
Well, I think the confusion here, and this is like an issue I see a lot of furry writers having, and also if I get like a request or a commission, it's something that people don't seem to quite have an understanding of, is the difference between a setting and a theme. So I mean, the title of the story is Movie Night. They're all coming over for movies. That's the concept, but it reads in the story not so much like some kind of real central theme, and just like an excuse to fuck. I mean, it's a reason why the two characters can be together. It's a reason they could be an intimate setting at home, and then they fuck. But the actual the actual potential for conflict in the story, or potential for tension that could arise from like a movie night, is never really advanced. It's kind of explored in a small degree.
So here it's a setting, you're saying.
Yeah, like
how would it
night.
be if it was the theme? I mean, give me an example of this particular story in a sentence or two. How would you present it as a theme? Because I'm interested in this
You don't want me to like
concept.
rewrite the story though. I mean, come on.
I want you to. I want to see what you're
Well,
talking.
what I
I'm
would
not
see
quite
is-
getting what you're talking about, so I want to see
rather
if you
than
can,
simply having the characters
using this story as an example. Give me the theme.
Okay, so the characters come over for their movie night to plow each other, basically, but you don't really get much of an explanation of like what the movies are watching, what the real relationships are between the people who've been invited, maybe like what they might have eschewed to do this instead. They're the kind of things that might give just a little bit more of a window into their personalities. And then you could also just then take these kinds of basic tenets of a movie night and manipulate them to make the sex kind of intriguing in a particular way to that situation, if that makes sense. So maybe they're all watching something on the TV and a sex scene comes up, not like a pornographic sex scene, but something that just kind of like sparks the sexual tension that had been brewing in the room. Maybe it becomes kind of flipped around and a guy brings out a movie camera and they start making their own movies or something like that. I mean, I'm just trying to spitball off the top of my head, but it's kind of disappointing because what I really wanted to see were the emotional themes.
Yeah, I was going to say my critique
to
of those, kinds of examples would be it changes what the story is about.
But a movie night's supposed to be kind of a social thing, and they don't really. They talk about how he has an ex-boyfriend and how he's interested in the new fox, and then he has a friend who is kind of unsure about the whole thing, and that's kind of addressed early in the story. And I was looking to see that kind of develop, to see if there might be some playful sexual tension that might develop between the two, if there might be some maybe great emotional outpouring from one to the other that might really illuminate their personalities or something like that.
Or Ian here, who's the friend who's warning him. How does he know?
Or is he maybe competing for him too?
Yeah.
I mean, you can make it a bit more dynamic.
That's interesting too. Like maybe Ian's, warning him off because he's after.
He's like a bit of jealousy or something.
That's a little more wrinkles. But, yeah.
Precisely what I would have seen is just a lot more emotion in the characters, simply because, I mean, a movie night is a very common thing. That's the other thing. Is, I mean, like, we had this is a movie night right now we're kind of having right here. We watch some movies, we're recording the podcast, whatever. I've done movie nights with tons of people. But, it's... That's kind of why it's not maybe the best raw material for a story, because it's not going to seem very fantastic to a lot of people. Ooh. And so to make it a bit more interesting as a story, you need some other kind of conflict, you need some other kind of tension there. And I think emotional or relationship conflict is the most sensible thing in this kind of story. It just doesn't get developed at all.
Okay, yeah. At first, I was about to disagree with you, but I think I'm going along there. Is that I think there's a power that can be used as a writer in terms of an ordinary situation or setting.
But
if you twist it enough to make it uncomfortable or unfamiliar,
the problem with
by
the
its
story,
very familiarity, and you're right, maybe that doesn't happen here.
It's familiar because it wants to seem realistic. It wants to seem like a plausible scenario for two people to hook up, but you don't really need that in stories, I don't think. I think most people are willing to suspend their disbelief to a degree that they don't really need characters to meet up at an intimate setting or in a safe environment to hook up, like a movie night, I'm
wondering if maybe... If we pull back a moment and think about what the story is about here, which is, in a nutshell, this fox gets a crush on another fox, and Fox 3 warns him off, saying this other fox is bad news, don't do anything.
He says he thinks with
he
his dick.
sleeps with him anyway. This fox thinks with his behind. Like some foxes may do, and sleeps with this guy anyway, and the guy says, yeah, thanks, and just walks out and leaves this guy who's hoping for more with nothing.
I saw that coming.
Yeah. And so maybe I think that's it. I think you just hit it.
Well, it's very clearly
that's
the point.
Maybe the thing with this story is you could see it coming too easily.
But even to me, it just feels kind of a tacked on moral lesson to a pulp story. Like, don't just go out and fuck the first tail that raises for you. I mean, because, but
I don't know about that.
I think there's a plenty of stories that have that kind of undertone. We read at least a few for the podcast.
I think, I mean, I like that there's nothing wrong with that concept. And yes, the story's been done before. But so have most stories, and there's nothing to prevent you from doing it well. But maybe for me, that's the big hitch in this story, is that you can see it coming, no pun intended, the dude's gonna leave almost right away. And so I think the challenge here would be to stop and think about, what do you want to happen in the story? And clearly Sorin knows that. And think, okay, how can I tell this story, and what I want to happen happens without people seeing it coming right away.
What you need is fewer things happening. This is another problem people have, is they think that the only way to advance any kind of narrative in a story is to push forward the plot, to push forward action, to have people go into different rooms and do different things. And they never end up pausing for a paragraph or a page or so just to kind of, elucidate on some mundane thing. You might be able to just describe what the people are wearing to the party, and in that be able to make an intriguing kind of comment on their motivations, on their fears or anything like that, what they're looking for at the party itself. You could go back a bit into the character's past and have them have the Swift Fox maybe talk a little bit more about his relationship, which is only really kind of scratched over.
Right. I think it's too short. I feel like what is here can work, but I think you're right. It needs to be broadened a little, and we need to know kind of more about the characters are kind of reacting, and it'd be good to know a little more about the feelings. It'd be good to know a little more about why they're reacting the ways they are, and it would help us invest ourselves in, because this. Here's the thing. I mean, if what happens in the story here? Well, the fox gets ditched by a sleazeball, and we need to really care about our little fox friend here, and we should we want to be really upset, and we're getting there, but I don't think we're there yet.
I don't necessarily have to be upset about it. Just it's hard to have any kind of feeling about it when it feels like it's being projected onto a mannequin.
I think that's a little harsh, but
it's harsh.
He needs to be fleshed out more.
Yeah. It's you don't need an emotional investment in your characters in every story you might write, but in a story like this, definitely.
Right.
In a story like this, I need to be able to empathize with the character. I need to be able to understand a character. I need to have a feeling for what makes this guy's pain kind of special and
right.
unique.
If we don't feel it acutely, there's or what's going on in this guy there. The story doesn't work. I mean,
he broke up with his boyfriend, and I guess you can find identification there with some pain. A lot of people probably could, but that's
and that's why I think that's the biggest strength of the story, is that if you're going to something, this is something that is something that a lot of people can relate to. I think most of us have had regretful one night stands at one point or another in our lives, and so how can you take that and maybe your own experience, the author, and how can you what can you say about that that puts a twist on it or makes people think about their own experience? What can you add to that, or what message do you want to say about that other than this guy left? So what? He left you. So what?
So you want to get a message across?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm throwing out.
You want it to be like a moral lesson on choosing the right fishes in the sea?
No, I don't think so. Because that's not necessarily wrong. It's something that you have to learn and figure out for yourself. Why didn't this work? So I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't think you should warn people off of it explicitly, because it's something that maybe does teach you things about yourself or other people. In my case, it did. I realized that. And it wasn't, it was fine, but I realized it's boy, if I'm going to do something with somebody else, I need to, be friends with them first, or I don't enjoy it the same way,
everybody has experiences finding their boundaries, basically.
Yeah. And so, okay,
this might have been a fun story like that, a story about a guy finding his boundaries and deciding, okay, maybe the random hookup at the movie night with a guy I hardly know isn't for me. But you can still make it hot in the interim.
Where I'd go with this story is the concept is a good one, and it's certainly one that you can say a lot about and that people connect with. And then so what you need to do to make the story more than good, because it's well written, is you need to make what you can do to make it special. I think that is the case, because it's well written. Clearly Sorin can write. Right.
It just feels like it's like a cake left in the oven.
Right.
Not long enough.
So what can you do to finish up? And I think we've thrown out a lot of interesting, possibilities and ideas. And, I'm looking forward to see what Sorin comes up with next, and I hope we weren't too hard on you.
Nobody asked us,
hopefully
really.
hopefully they're interesting ideas, and hopefully they're helpful, and hopefully you know where we're going with it. And hopefully they're helpful to other people. That if you are taking a very ordinary event and an ordinary story, you need to think, okay, how do we make this ordinary, very relatable event that everybody's had or related to? How do we make that special? How do we make that important?
Just for example, just to give a sports analogy, because I mean, why not? They're stupid. Mm-hmm. It's not hard to make somebody care about the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. If you're writing about the Super Bowl, you don't really need to build up any kind of excitement about it. Right. If you're a sports writer who's trying to write about the Pee-wee semi-regional playoffs, you might need to find some kind of angle, like a player who is doing extremely well and likely to excel at the high school level, maybe like a coach who is taking some kind of new look at things and is maybe succeeding in a certain way. That's like a different angle you have to take than
kids
just
that wouldn't normally make it, or whatever. Yeah,
like you're not writing about the Super Bowl. You kind of have to find something.
That's actually a really good analogy. I'm impressed.
Sports analogies. I mean, people make fun of them, but
it was
they're good.
A sports and writing analogy because you're a reporter covering this. But no, that's a very good point. And often when you do this right, these are the best stories. I mean, because they are so understandable and relatable and impactful, and people really can connect to them. So, more than, we read a lot of fantasy and a lot of sci-fi on this podcast, but there's a lot to be said for stories that people can more directly connect to their own life sometimes, because they are so emotionally powerful, because they're immediately relatable.
Yeah. And even if, I'm just being able to put myself in that situation of like a movie night is going to help me identify with the characters' emotions then later on, if I don't immediately identify them with them to begin with.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about finding a common
And I think this is where the first part of the story, I think, is doing this, where we kind of have, he's this kind of sea of anticipation and writhing emotions.
Very
and I love, I think one of the best parts of the story in terms of writing and building this is when he opens the door and it's Ian, and just his trying to keep the disappointment out of his voice. That it's, his probably best friend instead of the guy as a crush on. And that's really interesting right there, to have your best friend come over and you have to keep the disappointment out of your voice because you're infatuated with this person you just met. That's really and I thought that's really cool. That's really interesting. So that's definitely moving in the right direction, and you have to keep these kinds of emotional things and twists going through the length of the story. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
It also could have used an orgy scene.
How did I, I was gonna say, Toonces.
I'm not thinking about a movie night.
Toonces.
A movie night could have at least a dozen people. He had at least a dozen people in a movie night.
I was like, Toonces.
In a big room.
I am not surprised. But then I was like, well, there are all foxes here. And I'm so sure you are not the only reader of the story to have the same thought.
Like, this could use some more foxes.
I'm not willing to go out and say that. But, orgies are nice. But I'm not going to go out and say that. But I appreciate your comment. So,
every story could use an orgy scene.
That's true. War and Peace could have used more orgy scenes.
It's
a big book. You could work a few of them in, and people might not even notice. 900 pages.
They say Kafka wrote erotica. They found it recently. Did you hear about that?
I didn't know they found it.
I heard they found Kafka erotica, and I hope that wasn't a prank or something like that, because it's hilarious.
Awesome.
I haven't heard about it since. I guess, some German translators have been
It's cockroach sex. It's kind of
gross. No way. Never read Investigations of a Dog?
It would not surprise me, though. I could definitely see
Clearly
Kafka.
a very sexually frustrated
I could definitely see Kafka
that.
writing erotica. So it'd be really interesting to see. I hope it wouldn't be like... That's my least favorite... Just guys, so you know, what is my least favorite tag on So Furry? See if you can guess. The little words. No, plot development. That's okay.
Mine.
Oh yeah, that's a kind of goofy one because it's a story, and hopefully there's some in there at all. But that one, it just kind of doesn't make sense to me why it's even
tagging
there.
With verbs and adjectives too.
Right there, that's a good one. You should do that on your next story. Verbs, adjectives, No nouns. No, you got one more guess. You got one more guess.
I'm lost, man. I'm sorry.
As what my least favorite so furry tag might be.
Otterless.
Wow, no, that's no. Otters is a positive so furry tag, that's for sure.
But otterless would be negative, right?
Suicide is my least favorite so furry
they have
tag.
that tag?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
But that
and that is like almost guaranteed to make me not read the
Does that
story.
come up in the erotic stories more often, or the plot development stories?
It's there. No, often in the erotic stories, and that's the real. Like sometimes, okay, if there's suicide in the plot development, maybe I'll read it. If it's suicide in the erotic story, forget it.
Don't you think these guys are just depressed? Don't you think they're just depressed if they're cranking it about killing themselves?
I mean, well, I don't know if they're writing about killing themselves. Their character is, but.
Well, come on.
Yeah, and they want to reach out to it, but do I want to read it as a story? Not really. So I just hope, like, Kafka's story wouldn't be like that, like, death, suicide, anal, friends, Kafka.
Kafka porn story would involve Kafka, like, having sex with his dad and then his dad killing him.
Yeah. Good time.
I.e. the judgment.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't be allowed to post it on Fur Affinity because of that. I'm kidding. But you could do it on Ink Bunny. So that's okay.
You're at the Judgment. That's an adult character in the Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making a reference to an actual factual Kafka story.
Yes,
everybody look it up.
Yeah, guys, read it.
No, but actually, I want to make this recommendation real quick. No, Kafka stories. Read Investigations of a Dog.
Okay.
Because that's actually a rather furry Kafka story.
I haven't read that one.
It's really cool because it shows the consciousness of dogs and kind of like a humanless society. So they're not anthropomorphic, but it kind of follows similar themes like a furry
sort
society
of like
generally.
Watership Downey or
yeah,
something.
and I've heard it described. I've seen it describe it as like a dog society that is atheistic towards humans.
Ah.
I don't know. I just think it's a cool story. Investigations of a Dog. Franz Kafka.
That's free. You can download for your Kindle and stuff, I assume, right? Because that's not a copyright.
No, because it's German and that the translations are all.
copyrighted. The translations are all copyrighted. Okay,
yeah, but you can check Kafka out of your local library.
Yes. Wow. Your local library. You heard it here, guys.
Hey, I got all my fees forgiven. I'm all over the library stacks right now. Yeah.
So anyway, I did want to bring up that one other thing. I think unless you had any other points about the story.
Oh, I'm good.
I think I'm good too, and thank you again, Sorin. Your comment earlier made me think about how furry writing has evolved, and one of the first pieces I read was written even before I was a furry. So I probably got into furry. Bun started showing me stuff on the internet, on our modems, in like 1997 or something when I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
I think, yeah.
It's like 10 years before me.
No, and these are like 56K modems, and you'd click on a picture and you'd wait. And there was no really good index sites, so you'd have to find people here and there, and everybody was like, I'm hosted on GeoCities and that kind of thing. Yes,
I had
the dark
Fire
days.
Website.
There you go.
I had
Angel
a Pokemon
Fire
fan website on Angel Fire. I remember that.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Nice. Everybody
Like
look for Toonces Pokemon fan site. If you can find it,
if you can find it, I will delete it.
We'll give you a prize.
Find me the password.
We'll give you an undisclosed prize.
Somebody hack my Angel Fire website so I can get the password and delete it, please.
Aw, I think it's up there as a monument. But this story was actually written in 1992, which predates the internet. I mean, well, it predates the World Wide Web anyway. The internet, as we know, predates Netscape, web page. So this would have been back in, before any kind of graphical internet for most people, or internet accessible,
text,
unless
basically.
you were in, Usenet, things like that, and university systems. And so this was written back in those days, and it's a story called Weekend at Kelly's, written by Gary Akins Jr., I guess.
Junior.
And so this story dates way, way back, and I don't know, I had it on my computer, and so I was browsing through it the other day, and just kind of fun and thinking, wow, this is a story written before I was afraid. This is a story probably written back, before the internet. So this story would have been written probably at a time when there were like 1,000 furries, around the world.
Wow.
Maybe less. And there was like
Maybe
a con,
furries.
which was, I think it was Conference, which was out in California.
The first furry convention?
And that was, yeah.
When was that?
I think it started in the 80s, but don't quote me on it. I mean,
Right.
this is all way before my time.
We'll have to read the.
But yeah, you
history
have a
books
few
later.
hundred people show up, and that'd be like everybody. So, this before we were able to exchange this knowledge over vast distances and a distributed population. But so I'm reading this story and thinking about how the community has changed just hugely since then. And then thinking about how, the writing aspect has changed. And so what I've done, this is a little crazy, I've decided to track down Gary Aiken.
What if he's dead? I'm just gonna say.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna be the first one.
I mean,
What
that's
if he
always
is dead?
potential. That's always
It's been
possible.
like, what, 20
but
years?
Not Alex, Fuzzwolf has run into him at cons recently.
Oh.
He was at Furry Fiesta like last year or the year before.
So he's
and
not
he's
dead.
selling books still.
That's cool.
So yeah, I'd love to like get hold of him and either do it on here or write an email with some questions and kind of say like, what do you think? Having been there for all this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. If you've been a furry since the early '90s, you're the hippest of furries.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're like
Congrats.
the original old school, bam. So I want to kind of ask him like, what do you think? Not the community, but specifically the writing part of the furry community from when you started. And this is very carefully, formatted for using it, all these things. So what do you think of it now? And where are you going? Where are we going? And those kind of questions. So I'm trying to track Gary Aikens down, and I sent an email to his publisher, or the site where he has some of these books anyway, and hopefully they'll help me out. But if you know him, or you're listening, drop us a line. Skip
Bad
it,
Dog
Bad
Book
Dog
Club
Book.
interview.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested to see, pick this guy's thoughts and see where he's going and kind of look at the motivations or writing for this audience then when it was a few hundred people versus now when it's potentially thousands and thousands and thousands.
Let's not.
It is
For
though.
writing, most people aren't gonna get thousands.
Yeah, that's true.
And you get like a couple dozen.
But
And even then, like I have to wonder,
We've
how many
gotten- I mean,
actual
we've gotten-
readers do you get? How many actual readers do you get?
we've gotten
in
on
a-
some
in a-
of our podcasts, we've gotten 4,000 downloads.
Really?
So yeah, we are talking potentially thousands of people reading your stories.
No, if you look at the counts on like SoFurry and FA and stuff, they
Mhm.
always say like the hundreds, and then you never get
Yeah.
comments. And like, are people actually
They're
reading
very
this
good at
shit?
applaud the
Are
violence.
people actually reading this shit? That's
Yeah.
what I want to know.
Well, you were the one who was telling me an hour ago that, I got another comment the other day. I'm so surprised.
I was
people
happy.
listen
Yeah, I
to
got a
it.
comment. But I don't know. I got a comment on a story. I was happy about that. And I
Uh-huh.
get like comments from people like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I listened to the podcast yesterday." That makes me
Mhm.
happy because I'd never thought anybody ever listened to it.
Yeah.
That's
I guess we're doing something slightly right. Anyway, I hope everybody had a happy new year, and we'll keep you posted if we get to bring in some other authors and things, and do join us next week for Cinnamon Story, which is like car repair. Car repair. And
Car
there's some head sex in it. But...
What?
But, head sex in it, but the guy's a really big donger, so I think...
That doesn't make it better.
I think it does for you. Oh, come on.
No.
Big donger? You're not into those.
I'm a butt man.
Oh, okay.
What made you think I was into big dongers?
I don't know.
I like dongs. I like big dongs. I like little dongs. I like medium dongs.
Uh-huh.
Dongs are cool. But I like stomachs.
You like
and
big
butts
butts
better.
and you cannot lie.
I like big butts. I cannot lie, and I like bellies. I like stomachs.
Okay,
I mean,
alright.
the torso is like the money zone.
I don't know, we'll talk about this, but my feeling, at least reading this story, is like it's straight, but it's because so much attention is paid to the guy and his dunk. It's kind of gay for being straight.
It's a pretty gay straight story.
Pretty gay straight story.
Yeah, we read a lot.
So we could talk about that. Whether
Furries are
people
pretty
think it
gay
crazy, but
straight.
yes, for all you straight people suffering through the gay sex, we'll
That
pick
ain't
you up
queer.
next week.
That ain't queer is my new phrase for like that's cool. That's not cool.
You should get that on a t-shirt.
Because I'm tired of people saying that's gay, and like I'm gonna start
Yeah.
saying things ain't queer.
We have a guy in our World of Warcraft raid who lives down in Tampa who says that, and he's like my age. I mean, he's like, or he's older. He's like 33, and every time he says it, I'm like, Dude, what are you, 13? Come on. I mean, like, who says it's gay when they're 33 years old? Who does that? You're like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that way. And I'm like, I don't care, you sound like an idiot. Like, I'm not offended, you just sound like an idiot.
You sound gay.
There you go. That's what I should say.
Like, how do you, like, no, when
like,
you
I'm
heard
just
it when I
sorry,
said that-
if you are out of high school and you are still saying, that's gay, you need to seriously reevaluate your life. That's all I'm saying.
Thanks, Skip.
Yeah.
Although I do call people faggots.
But you say it nice.
No, I say it in an
aware,
extremely
ironic
mean
way.
No. I try to say it as like mean and vicious as I can.
Right. I don't think those guys are saying it.
But-
they're saying it as that's stupid and like a 13-year-old would, and that's what my point.
But I only say it to straight people.
Well, that's not.
I only call straight people faggots.
All right. Well, with this message of unity, togetherness, I'm
gonna be honest with you here. Like,
Yeah.
I think queer dudes need to get over the epithets.
Yeah.
For real, just get over it. Get over it, and then start turning it back on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's the next step to like.
Dude, hasn't that
getting out
been
of the
most of
closet.
our history? The pink triangle is literally that thing. So.
No, I'm saying let's continue this.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. You say like that's gay. I'm like, I would have just made fun of the dude and called him an idiot and made him feel like I wouldn't have moralized to him. I'd have just made him feel really bad about himself.
I didn't. I didn't moralize. I said he
That's right. No, you're right. You're right.
I said he acted like a 13-year-old. I didn't say I was offended.
I guess you're just not vicious enough for me.
Okay. I was gonna say I called him a 13-year-old. I didn't say I was offended. Because I wasn't. He just sounded like an idiot. Yeah.
You did do the right
thing. So I
thing.
did not moralize.
You did do the right thing.
Thank you. All right, guys. With that, Happy New Year. We will see you next week with a wonderful story read by Khaki Dog, the artist formerly known as Alex Vance.
Yep.
And take care.
Ciao, faggots.